Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, to ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this is a very last-minute episode. I actually am recording this the day before you're going to hear it, which rarely happens. Usually a week at the least, 2 to 3 weeks, a month, sometimes 2 months in advance. But today, so it's my birthday week and I'm just feeling into it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of stories. I'm going to tell you what's going on lately, why I decided to come and record a last minute solo episode for you. We usually do the throwback episodes on Wednesdays, but I was like, you know what? I just want to record. I'm feeling it. So we're going to talk about the difference between a boss mentality and an employee mentality. And I recorded something like this years ago, but I want to bring back this idea because it's so important. It's something that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, but we do, or we fall into a boss mentality. And it sometimes, going from being an employee to a boss, it really shakes people. And so I just want to talk about it. I'm going to give you some examples of some things that have come up lately that have made me think about this topic. But anyway, I'm going to tell you a story first because my life lately has been kind of crazy. I feel like I've gotten into this kind of like cushy, can sit back and just customers come to me and it's a really good spot. Not complaining at all. I am very appreciative of it. But I feel like I haven't been stretched very much. I haven't done hard things lately. Things are pretty smooth sailing now, which is great because I feel like in the beginning of my art career, every day I was just banging my head against the wall saying, how the heck do I paint this? This doesn't look the way I want it to. My feet hurt. How do I juggle 10 commissions at once? And it was just, I was frazzled all the time. And then it just became less and less. And then to now, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like I can get you a mock-up and I have a list of it. I have a list of things to do, but it's become the normal, So I say that to anybody who's in the beginning of this and you're developing your boss mentality or you're juggling being an employee and a new boss and you're just frazzled a bit. It's normal. And you will get through it. And it's really just practice. I mean, I can help you with it to some extent, but it's really just practice and just for it to become your new normal. And because I listen to so many podcasts, they just always talk about how, like the self-motivational ones are like, you have to stretch yourself and move through the hard stuff in order to get to the good. And I'm like, yeah, like, can we fast forward? But last week I had to go through a really hard moment and I'm going to talk about it. So I was called very last minute by a company and they said, hey, can you come paint our logo on the roof? And I was like, yeah, I would love to. I've never painted anything on a roof. That sounds great. Mind you, I know that I have a fear of heights, but I just didn't think about it in this whole conversation because, like I said, I've just lived a very cushy life lately I haven't stretched myself. I'm just like, yeah, sure. I've been up on high things before. I'll just figure it out. But I just kind of forgot that I am extremely scared of heights. I will still do the things, but it's tough. And so I had this conversation. They said, hey, can you get there in like 2 days? And I said, no, absolutely not. You're crazy. And so I negotiated with them about showing up on the following Monday and also raising the pay because what they wanted to pay me was just not at all what anybody should be paid to be on a roof. And what we ended up settling with is not at all what somebody should be paid to be on a roof either. But it was better. So I was just like, okay, like I negotiated with them. And then Monday morning at 3:30 in the morning, my alarm goes off. I run to the airport. I fly out at 5:30 in the morning. I land in Alabama to paint on this roof at 10 o'clock. I have an Artist Academy virtual meetup at 11. So I get in my rental car. I'm on the meetup talking to Academy students and answering questions. And then I'm actually on the call and I'm looking up at this roof and it is way higher than I had imagined talking on the phone, saying, yes, I would come down and do this. And I'm just looking at it. And as I was thinking about this too, I'm like juggling all these things. I flew, I'm about to paint all day. I've got a Artist Academy call. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, this is my new normal. But looking at this roof, like, it is high. I want to say the peak, I don't know, 60, 70 feet up. It's up there. I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe it looks like 100 really, but I don't know. And so I pull up and I'm just like, I remember last week I was just opening the door to the place. So I'm painting for Bass Pro Shops, right? I'm just going to say it. Like, I don't know why. Sometimes I call them the outdoor store. Sometimes I don't say it at all. Sometimes, anyway, it's Bass Pro Shops. And so I opened the door. I remember just putting my hand on the door and opening it and thinking, this day could either be really good or I don't know. Like, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure if I know I'm going to get it done. I know I'm not going to not do it, but I don't know how easy this is going to be. And I remember thinking, like, opening that door and thinking, okay, when I walk out this door tonight, what am I going to regret a little bit coming down here? Is it going to be way easier? Like, I don't know. So I'm really intrigued. So I walk in. I find who I need to find. Luckily, there are these other guys there that had been painting on the roof a couple days before me because they answered the call when they said, hey, can you be here in 2 days? And they said yes. It's like, okay. So luckily, I had them to show me the ropes, literally, because you wear a harness and you literally tie off on a rope that is connected to the top of the roof. And it's kind of like rock climbing. But the roof is pitched so much that you can walk on it without falling, and you're not going to just fall all the way down, but it's sketchy. So I walk up and I'm going pretty slow, and they're warning me. They're like, look, this is no joke. Because I at first they're like, how are you with heights? I'm like, oh no, I'm scared shitless of heights. Like, so heights are not my thing. And they just look at me and they're like, okay, here we go. And I'm like, all right. So we get up there and I'm like, how do you do this? So luckily they could show me. Luckily, they were there. Like, so much. I was so glad for once to show up on a job. They had the paint ready. They had everything there and just show me how to do it. Because so often, like 99% of the time lately, which I love doing this, but I have the paint ready for people. When people come and help me, I'm showing other people how to do it via video or academy students that come in person or what. I'm the one that's teaching, but I was in the student seat. And I was so thankful to have somebody there to show me in this specific time, because it's just like, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know if there's YouTube videos to show you how to paint on a roof. Like, I don't know. So what they did is they're like, okay, you have the paint and you have a roller or a brush. And basically I brought knee pads and I was tied off and everything. And so I got down there, scaled all along the side of the building and to this big logo part that I was painting. And I had paint hand in one hand and brush in the other. I just kind of made sure I was steady as much as I could. And you paint and then you move along, just trying not to get your rope in the paint, in the newly painted paint. And then I was going along and I was thinking, like, man, wouldn't it be funny if like I just dropped a gallon of paint, or like I dropped a brush, or I dropped anything. And I was like, that would really suck. Anyway, because it would be so easy to do. So easy. Like, you can set down a gallon of paint on this roof, but the pitch is so much to where if it got knocked at all, it was flying. Like, it was going. It could stay. I got it to stay, but I held on to it or had it tied off on a rope. It was just, there was so much up there. It just had me, I just had to collect myself a couple times while I was up there and just be like, no, like, think about, like, there were guys up here putting this roof on, okay? There was people up here painting this logo before me. It's fine. And so that's how I trick myself, really. I'm like, other people do this, I can do this. That's what the theme has been with my whole art business. I think it's just, I see somebody else doing it, I know I can do it. 100%. That's all it takes for me. I will ask questions, or I'll be stubborn and just do trial and error on my own until I figure it out. But if I see that somebody else can do it, then that's what I go back to. Like, okay, no, like it's like was it Mia Hamm? It wasn't back in the day. It's like anything you can do, I can do better kind of a thing, like with Nike Sports back in the day. I think that's where it started. and so I'm up there and I block in this whole big yellow part, and it was a lot. And I'm just going, I'm like, okay, I can do this. Here we go. This is going to take a while, but I can do this. And then I'm at the final spot of the yellow, and I step back into the newly painted yellow part, and I slipped. And I landed right on my butt. I didn't slide at all, but the roller that I had in my hand went flying with yellow paint all over it. And it went almost off the roof. Like it went to the very end and led a stream of yellow paint behind it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, day one, this is it. Here we go. All right. And I look over and one of the guys had seen me do it and he just kind of laughed. He's like, are you okay? Like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I wasn't hurt at all. It was just a shock. And if anything, it kind of like made my nerves a little bit less. I'm like, well, I kind of got that out of the way. And I know now that if I slip, I'm not going to just slip all the way off. I just, I stuck. And so that actually made me feel a little bit better. And so how I fixed that was there was no just washing it off. It was on there. The roof is hot and paint is drying really, really fast. And so at the end of it, we just mixed up a color that looked really a lot like the roof color and just went over it. And it was no big deal. But I was just very much out of my comfort zone and just messing up and trying new things and just very uneasy. So it was 3 days worth of work. The first day was good, but after traveling all morning, painting all day, I slept like no other in my hotel room. And then the next morning got up, and I didn't know this, but I was ready to get up and go and beat the heat and get up there at 6:30 in the morning or whenever sun rose. And they were like, nope, can't do that. Like, why? Because there's dew on the roof. And if you go up too early, you will slip. And I was like, okay, so we'll just paint midday where the sun is the hottest. That's fine. It's only like 85 today. It's fine. Okay. So, but in the morning though, we got up there about 8 o'clock, and the sun hadn't really hit the side of the roof that you scale up on. So it was wet. So just go up really slowly and go up to the other side of the roof where the sun is on so that we can paint. And so I'm just continuing to paint the logo, yellows and greens. It's the Bass Pro Shops logo. And I remember thinking it has been 10 years, a little over 10 years since I painted my first Bass Pro Shops logo. It was on like a big piece of wood, basically. And the logo was probably 3.5 to 4 feet wide and tall. And so fast forward 10 years later, I'm painting one on a roof, a pitched roof, and it's about 20 feet long. So very different. But I remember thinking back on that first logo that I had painted, how uneasy I was painting that one because people are all around me. I was brand new. I was painting for this big company and I didn't want to mess up. And I ended up painting it really well. And it boosted my confidence. But I remember that feeling, that like scared little girl feeling that I had. It's like the feeling that you get when you just kind of want to call your mom and you're like, hi mom, I just want to tell you about my day. Like that's kind of what I felt in the early days. And that I got a little bit of sense of that being up there. And I hadn't gotten that in a long time. And it's so funny because on day 3, my mom called and I'm up on the roof and I'm like, hey mom. And like by then I had gotten decently used to it. I was very ready to get off that roof. Was nowhere near doing backflips up there comfortable, but she called him like, hey, I'm just, painting on the roof. And she's like, and if she could see, like, I imagine my own son being up there. And I even told my mom, I was like, if my son wanted to be up there, I'd be like, no, you can just pass on this job. Like I would be worried for me being up there. And so I'm just talking to her, I'm like, about, the upcoming weekend plans and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I have to go. And I'm like, I was thinking that if it had been 10 years ago, Andrea, new artist, being up there trying to paint that logo, luckily I had painted it many times before, right? So I was no stranger to it. I had to have a reference photo even still, but if I was a new artist up on that roof, I would have been shitting my pants. Like, there's no way. I would have made a way, but I would have been sweating way more bullets than I was. And so that also calmed me a little bit. I was like, you know what? This is kind of a boss move to be able to come up here, face the fear of heights, paint this logo that I'm pretty confident in painting. And I worked like, I don't know, it wasn't an over amount of hours, and I get to go home. So I got flown out, and it was just a cool thing. So it reminded me of the whole boss mentality versus employee mentality. And I remember back in the day, like working for Bass Pro Shops, and we were like contracted, which means like we weren't employees. We were contracted artists. And so, but they gave us an hourly rate. We didn't set our own rate. We didn't tell them what they wanted per job. It was very much like they gave us a job. They told us what to do. They told us when to show up at a certain time. And it was a good stepping stone into being my own boss, because it was very much an employee type environment. Even so, like whenever they tried to pitch me to do hourly again and come back and work for them, I just said absolutely not. And like I've been working for myself for so long, and I was like, I'll do a daily rate, but I don't want to do an hourly rate where you're paying me less than $100 an hour to get up there. No, it's not happening. So now more experience. But I remember back in the day, Andrea would have been like, yes, of course, I'll get up there and I'll make whatever they were offering me. And it's just, I remember talking to other contracted artists who were there or employees. And I remember there was like a coolness about complaining, not just in that work environment, it was other ones too. I mean, I worked for a movie gallery in college, and it was just every work environment that I had, there was some amount of complaining going on, and it was contagious. It was like you go to lunch and then you complain about, oh, the boss is making me, log hours, or, oh, they changed this thing and they said I can't go to lunch at this time. And, oh, there was always something to complain about. And fast forward now to being my own boss, and just the difference in that is, when you're an employee, there's always somebody to blame, right? There's the boss, there's the manager, there's the company owner, like there's somebody to blame, but it's not us, right? It's not us. Like the reason we're unhappy is not our fault. It's, oh, this whatever is going on. But when you own your own business, like I do, like you likely do, we are in charge 100% of our work environment when it comes down to the customers that we take on. If they're a bad customer, we can let them go right now. We do not have to put up with them. And there's been a couple customers where I was like, never mind, this is not what I want. I don't need money this bad. Never mind. We can't blame our customers. If the day is going badly, it's nobody else's fault but our own. In the same token, if something goes really right, like my marketing efforts, my consistent social media posting leads to sales, like that's on me because I did that effort. And I can be the one to celebrate it. And that's the good part of it. But I think the bad part of it takes some getting used to. For instance, I did the project for Sony a while ago and flew out to California, and I brought my mom with me, and she was asking me questions, and because I brought my son as well. And she was like, hey, when are you going to be off work? And I just remember pausing, and I was like, I haven't been asked that in forever. I haven't been asked, when are you going to be off work in forever? It's always, they mean the same thing, but it's always something different. It's, hey, when are you going to be done for the day? Or, hey, when are you going to be done with that job? Or, hey, when am I going to finish to be able to come home? Or, hey, are you going to be able to come home by 6? Or it's just a different lingo, but it's hardly ever, hey, when are you going to be off work? Like, it's when is somebody letting you off work? And anytime she would ask me that, and I would just be like, well, I'll be done when I'm done. I'll be done when the job is complete, when I finish painting all of the things that I need to finish painting. And she just looks at me and like, okay, but that's just not something that she thinks about because she works 9 to 5. Or if she pulls overtime, like also overtime, that's not a lingo that I hear often. Like I was talking to somebody recently and they said how they really want overtime at work and how they really want it so they can make the overtime pay. And I was just thinking, I was like, that is just something that I don't think about. That is a work is work. overtime is just working a lot. Overtime is this job is taking way longer to finish, but I'll get it done. There's no extra incentive for overpay or overtime. I don't even know how to, it's just a different world. Or questions like, how much are you making this year? Do you know? I don't know. I have a goal, but I don't have a set number at all. Like, I couldn't tell you at all. And that's also the part of it that's getting used to being uncomfortable with not knowing as a boss versus an employee. I feel like as an employee, you know what to expect. You know how many hours you're going to put in. You know what you're going to make from those hours. It's dependable. You're not looking for more customers. You have one customer and that's it. Just like I had one customer with Bass Pro Shops for about 2 years, and then I had to go out and find others. That was a weird shift. But it was good because I realized, hey, the more effort that I put in, the more money I'm going to make, the more customers I can have, the more my name gets spread around. It's just how much effort I want to put into it is what's going to happen. And that's so different from showing up to a job every day and being told what to do. I had to switch my mindset around from, okay, I'm going to show up and do a job to, I need to go create a job for myself. Because that's what it is. And I think I see a lot of artists, just putting stuff out there and wanting people to come to them. And when they don't, they're looking for somebody to blame. The economy, the election, anything. And that's an employee mentality. If you're looking at the algorithm, that's my favorite one. People blame the algorithm. And I'm like, no, it's just your content needs to be better, but it's fine. And everything is our fault. And I think as soon as I realized that and I cut the victim mentality BS, because I had it bad. I had it way bad back then. Anytime like a boyfriend did something bad to me, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Or like a friend would do something. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, and then I realized, no, like I literally allowed those people in my life. Or anytime like a customer would be, however, I was like, oh, no, like I just wasn't super clear upfront how I do business. And so they're doing it how they think it should be done, and they don't take art seriously. But really it's my job to put my foot in the ground and say, no, if we're going to work together, you need to take what I do seriously. For instance, I was talking to several different resort locations about hosting mural meetups, and there was definitely a mix-up in what they thought they were getting, which I thought I clarified it was a mural and it was going to better their property and all the things. And they were in turn exchanging for a very discounted rate to stay there. And it just got mixed up. And I could tell very quickly that this person did not value art, so much so that she called me privileged, and which I am, I realize. But she was like, you are a privileged American. You cannot ask for, basically I couldn't ask for discounts in order to give them art for stay. It was just, they did not value art, basically. And so I ended it as soon as I realized that. I ended the conversation as nicely as I could. We're not going to have a mural meetup there anytime soon, but it's up to us. But if I would have been coming to that in a mindset that was desperate, like, hey, no, we need to stay there, like that would have not have been a good match, because they just didn't value and so me trying to make it work, like me trying to make it work with so many ex-boyfriends, like you can't be with somebody who doesn't value you. Okay. But a boss knows that it's up to us to put the right people around us, ask the right people for advice. I think an employee, if you give somebody advice, say if somebody gives me advice and I take it and it ends up being bad advice, my first instinct is to blame them. Like, oh, they gave me such bad advice. Can't believe that. No, that's an employee mentality. That's like you're looking for the boss to give you good or bad, and then you're blaming them for good or bad. No, it's up to me to take the advice or not, or take some of the advice and put my own magic in it. It's like things like that. I think as soon as I started to realize that I was doing even the little things, like blaming somebody else for giving me bad advice. Like, yes, they gave me the bad advice. Did they know that? No. They just gave me what they thought. It's like asking an employee for advice on how to be a boss. Like asking, like say you're, like my mom has been an employee her whole life, or any family member that you have. If they're not running their own business, you can't listen to them on the majority of things that it takes to be a boss, because they just don't get it. Like, they might give some good customer service tips or work ethic tips or things, but when it comes down to making decisions about the future of your business or the best ways to efficiently run it, efficiently run it, there's so much bad advice that I see going around that employees give. Things like, just work harder. But no, like, you can work smarter is how bosses do it. Employees put in a lot more hours. Bosses find the shortcuts, or quote shortcuts, or just you figure it out. You either ask a mentor and somebody who's going to give you good advice of somebody who has been exactly where you're at, or just tell you like, hey, you could do A or B, but it's up to you. That's what I do with my students all the time. And like, hey, I've tried this. I think you would do well with this. I think you need to focus here. But if you want to focus there, you can do that too. But this is my opinion on this. And so, for instance, we just had one of my first small group coaching calls. So I'm doing these one-on-ones, which is really just small groups. So I had 3 ladies and we were going around just asking questions, and I was analyzing their businesses about where they're struggling, what they've tried and has done really well, and showing them the blind spots. Like, hey, you need to do this specific thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I do save a lot for my one-on-one people, but just having somebody to help you, having somebody to hold you accountable, sometimes even hold your hand, give homework, something. If you know that you need that because you're not in that boss mentality yet, that's okay. It took me a while to get in it too. I went from working at a bank to trying to run my own promo company with a bunch of promo girls running around everywhere. That was a shit show. But it was a fun shit show. And then working for Bass Pro Shops, which is halfway between being my own boss, but not really, and then really being my own boss. It was a waste. It was a lot of hurdles for me to get there. And now looking back, I can see the little things, and I can see my blind spots, what I really didn't like to do, what I should have done way earlier. And that's what I'm bringing into my one-on-one coaching. And so this week is my birthday week. And like I said, I'm giving 35% off of the Artist Academy. Either you do the 1-year membership, which is saving a total of $155 to pay for 1 year. So if you've ever thought about getting into the Academy and you are committed for the next year at least, because it really, coming in for a couple months is not going to do much good. It's just not. There's so much content in there. And as soon as you dive into a couple of videos that give you tasks, it just takes a while to put it into practice. That's why I have it a very low cost membership, because it takes a while. And I've noticed that people who stay in for at least a year, they make the most progress. I see them show up more. They're asking more questions. They're posting the first mural that they did, and then the 10th, and then the 20th. And it's just, you can see the growth thanks to the community that we have in the Artist Academy, the tutorials, the templates, everything. I started videoing myself over 5 years ago. Everything that I do in my art business, I uploaded just today, how I painted foggy tree scenes, just because that's just what I was painting. And so I just videoed how to paint a tree and then how to make it foggy and set it back. And it's just, everything is in there, not just painting, but everything on the business side, how to pitch, everything. And you can go at it at your own pace. And so if you're somebody who is coming into that boss mentality and you're like, okay, I just need a little bit of direction. I need to know what to do, and then I can make myself do it. The Academy 1-year membership is for you. There's a link here. I'm sure it's not in the notes. If you just go to the Artist Academy link that I have, it shows the birthday specials. You get 35% off. I've never given this much of a discount before. And so if you've thought about joining, this is the time to join and really take your art seriously for the next year. Also, I'm doing one-on-one coaching. So if you're somebody who you really just need more hand-holding, it's not enough to have the videos there, because so many people, they come in the Academy and they see that there's videos in there and they watch a couple, but there's no action on it. And I see that. And I see it way more often than I'd like to see it. And that's why I offered the one-on-one coaching for the people who it's really hard for you to get yourself to take action. Paying in to being mentored with me every single week, having to answer to me every Monday about, hey, did you do this task? Hey, this is the blind spot that I see you're not doing in your business. Can you do this for me? And then next time I'm going to check up on you. Can you do this? And the scripts, I tell you how to talk to people. We do some coaching calls. We do like coaching calls as in like, I pretend I'm a customer. Like, hi, I'd like this mural, blah, blah, blah. Like, talk to me like you're confident in it. Talk to me like you mean it. Sell me. I'll tell you how to sell me. How to just write out an Instagram post. We can write out 10 on the one call. And then you have your whole plan set for the next couple of weeks about things of how you're going to promote your mural business. You have all the captions written out. I'll do that with you. I will make a plan for your art business with you, and then we will execute it together. And I'm doing this because there's so many things that I know I need to be doing. But like I said, I've been in a very cushy spot where people come to me and it's very easy and I'm very thankful for it, but I want to get the big mural jobs. And I know to do that, I need to pitch myself to some big mural jobs. I need to do some art calls. I need to pitch to apartment buildings. I need to do all of these things that I just haven't really been doing, but I'm going to do it. Like I said, I'm ready to make myself be even more uncomfortable because the aftermath of that comfortability, yeah, that word, I feel so much better. Like after I got on that roof and I did that thing, I was like, okay. And it also made me appreciate not being on a roof and painting on a flat wall. Like there's so much good that came of that. Really, I had to like come home and just decompress for a couple of days. It really shook me. But afterwards, I'm like, that's pretty great. I'm going to do this more often, I think. And when you get a win, it causes another win, because when you get a win, you get more energy behind it. Right? You're more excited. You're like, this can really work. Okay, here we go. And so I know that I just need to get a couple wins in pitching myself and doing some RFQs and all the things. And then it's just going to cause me to do more and more. So I know that much. I have the boss mentality to know that much, that I need to get in and do the thing. I'm going to get some wins. So will you. And you can do it right along with me. So if you're interested in the one-on-one coaching, it is normally $3,500 for 3 months. And I only take on very rarely. I've only done this one other time. And it took so much energy that I was like, okay, I'm going to wait till I have my energy back before I take this on again, because it is a lot. It's just to dive into your individual art businesses and critique and keep on track. And not only that, but keep on track of my own stuff. It's a lot. And so I charge what it's worth. And I charge $3,500 for 3 months. However, now that I'm getting back into it, I am doing 35% off of that. Which, do the math. I actually already did the math and I wrote it down. It is $2,275 for 1 year, not just 3 months, although we will do the bulk of it in 3 months. And then what it looks like, it's one call every Monday, and then we'll eventually go to 2 to 3 calls every Monday for a couple months. And then we'll do every other Monday. And then we'll do just once a month by the end of the year. And that's just maintaining, because really, there's a lot that I'm going to show you, and then it's just checking in. Like, hey, let's check out the blind spots and then adjust. But the most is going to be done in the first couple months. But it's drawn out to be coaching with me for a year. So if you want to take your art business seriously, you need some accountability, you need some handholding, and you want to make sure you're doing it right, and you want the encouragement of myself and some other ladies behind you, I encourage you to sign up for the one-on-one. Or if you're somebody who you just need some videos and you can do it on your own, then I highly recommend the 1 year subscription. Again, it's all 35% off. I've never done this before. So if you're ever thinking about doing this, this is the time to join. Okay, the link is in the notes. And that's it. That's all I have for today. I will check you out next week for another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. If you like this art and business talk in audio form, then I want to invite you to get my book. It's called Mural Money: How to Grow Your Art Business from 0 to 6 figures. So starting from the very bottom, like you don't even have a website yet. You have nothing. You're not sure where to go, and you want to make money with a paintbrush. You want to have your creativity pay the bills. I have taken so much of the advice that I've gotten from artists from this podcast. I've been doing one episode for over 5 years now. So many interviews, so many good bits of advice. So I've taken the best of that advice and put it in my book, along with so many stories and lessons learned that I've had in my own mural career of just how I would go back and save a whole lot of time if I just knew these steps. It's a 15-hour audiobook. And so if you like this podcast, if you're listening to interview after interview, I know that you're going to like the book. So go to muralmoney.com. It's for anybody who wants to grow their art business with a paintbrush. Muralmoney.com. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Artist Academy podcast.